Hello, hello, boys and girls. Goodness, we're in Brussels right now. Which I know I mentioned that in the last video that I'd be here, but it was an interesting trip. Just around 10 hours of traveling, which isn't really that crazy. Goodness, sorry, I have to adjust my shoe here. Look at me. But yeah, caught me with the bandana too. I don't know why. I just kind of felt like wearing a bandana today because I brought it, but. Yeah, no, it was an interesting traveling day. Didn't really get a lot of sleep the night prior, so it was definitely interesting because I had to pack up at I started packing up at 1:40, I'm pretty sure, and then hijinks ensued and I started playing some Overwatch, and then I finished packing at around 4-ish. But anyways, the topic of today's video is something very interesting because I did want to record an actual lift. But the gym that was in the hotel, which is very small, which I will insert a video just kind of around here. Wow, whatever, but it was just really small. And also there were a few people in there and I just want to respect their privacy, Don't want to be the stereotypical inconsiderate American while I'm here in Europe. But yeah, no, I mean, I did hit a pull day, and the pump will be shown after this little segment. But I figured now that I'm out here, I'm in a different environment, I might as well just, just pour out what I've been thinking, just over the course of this last week, 2 weeks. Not really 2 weeks, it's really something that's been going on over the last week or so. And I think it's something that we can, take away from in a positive manner. Yeah, no, I, like many people, I struggle with overthinking. And recently that's been something that's been plaguing me, I'm getting flustered. I'm not gonna really disclose as to why, because, that's really my business. But generally speaking, it's people get flustered, they overthink about a lot of things, girls, grades. I mean, that's something that I've especially been overthinking about as of late, regarding the latter of what I said. But it's really brought to me a sound realization as to how important it is to calm your mind. Now, I obviously do that when I lift, and primarily that was what I did for today, which honestly, considering how small the gym was, which I mean, as you guys just saw, it was pretty good, and I calmed my mind pretty effectively, honestly. And just being able to be out here and take a good look at nature, which I'll show right now actually. Goodness, look at that. Hopefully that is able to reach over, but Brussels is very beautiful. It's a very beautiful city. Actually, coming out from the airport, there was a lot of construction, so this is a very refreshing change of scenery. But anyways, overthinking is something that has been plaguing me, and calming my mind and emphasizing that just in my daily life has been something that has been extremely valuable to me. Now, regarding the subject matter, I said I wouldn't really get into it, and I think I'm just gonna have to keep it that way. It's tempting, obviously, but at the end of the day, whatever happens, happens. Regardless of what happens, GG, we go next. And we just have to kind of live with the fact that things are the way they are, it really comes down to the fact, and obviously this is about a person, right? And I think that's really the most detail I'm gonna disclose about this. So I think the reason why I'm overthinking so much is particularly because I have this pet peeve about having my time wasted, right? And obviously, this person that is in question, right? I have a innate kind of instinct to kind of just pour everything of myself out. Just kind of full throttle everything and just give people the 100% of myself that I want to show, right? But lately this has been a moment to reflect and to say that perhaps that's really something I should reconsider. People themselves are fleeting. Relationships themselves are fleeting, which isn't to say this is a relationship, obviously, but if we're talking from like a more general sense, then, you know, just people in general themselves are pretty fleeting, right? They come and go. And at the end of the day, we can pour out our care, but regardless of the fact, it doesn't guarantee that they stay. And that's something that I have come to the realization of, but even though I've come to this realization before, it's something that I struggle with, honestly. And going back to the video where I benched 245, where I talked about epiphany to self-criticism, I reflected back on that, and it really allowed me to gain insight and to really come to terms with what could possibly be the negative outcome that very well could happen. But that isn't a bad thing. At the end of the day, I'm still very young, right? And this goes out to all of you who may be struggling from some kind of overthinking, you know? If you're a young man, if you're a young woman, regardless of who you are, the very fact of the matter is that we're living life as we are, you know? There's more to life than just the relationships that we think are incredibly valuable in the moment, you know? Like, at the end of the day, we're still very young. We have our lives ahead of us. And I know for a fact that I'm destined for greatness. And I pride myself on the fact that regardless of my struggles, that I am going to achieve greatness. And that's something that I feel like, apart from the prideful aspect, there should be a sort of confidence in ourselves to have this kind of bravado that we know we're going to be great. Of course, that implies that there has to be effort being put into that, which is very important. That's something that people don't really get, especially people from my background. You know, I'm an only child, and as a matter of fact, my parents paid for the entirety of this trip. But it's how we capitalize on these opportunities that are given to us, whether it be from things apart from our effort, from the labor that we put in to create those opportunities. If those opportunities are simply handed to us, the very fact of the matter is that we cannot let them pass by. Even if they aren't handed to us, we can't let them pass by. As a side note, I feel as though that is particularly what separates great people from, well, I mean, bums, I guess. Like, you know, I feel as though regardless of whatever we go through, we have to understand that there is beauty in the struggle, which isn't a new thing per se, but it's something that I think I'm still really getting the full taste of, perhaps another level, if you will, in terms of just like how deep this thought runs. And it's allowed me to really just like take a step back and make me realize that regardless of what happens with the situation that I'm in, no matter how much I feel like I've been disrespected to an extent, or just, I wouldn't say lied to. I feel like that's a little bit extreme. I feel like disrespect is a little extreme too. But kind of going on with like the wasting my time pet peeve that I mentioned. Goodness. But kind of going back to that, regardless of that, there's not really a reason to be upset. I think that there's a beauty in realizing that you can pull yourself apart from the things that you care about, because you realize that some of these things that you've poured so much care, so much effort into, simply are not meant to be. And we can use that as a way to move forward, to recognize the things that are important, to recognize the things that we should put our effort and our care into. Goodness, this fucking cricket is just going crazy. My goodness. But, like, I feel as though I should give an example. Now, I mentioned relationships, right? Whether it be individual people, a group of people, an identity, whatever. Sometimes people realize that, you know, whether it be like political motive or like a religious motive, Like, let's say, for example, that a Christian who was raised in the church for a long period of time, like ever since they were born, essentially, recognizes that their faith is simply not in line with the values that they want to have. They envision a future for themselves where the greatest version of themselves is apart from their upbringing, apart from the things that they poured their effort, their time, their care into. There's beauty in recognizing, by separating yourself from these values, from what is your current reality, that there's a way forward. And there's something, well, I keep on repeating that there's something beautiful to that, but I can't really say it any other way. So, and if I'm gonna put it another way, let's say, okay, like, let's say you made a new group of friends, right? And you realize that they're fleeting, which isn't my experience personally. I feel like all the friendships I have are rather stable and very fortified, which, goodness, I could finally stopped. But I truly love all my friends. But before that, it took time to realize that these are the relationships that I should be giving attention to. And there were times, especially in my first year of college, where I was hanging out with a crowd that simply was not benefiting me. And yet I still continue to pour my time into nurturing those relationships and continuing to strive for betterment in things that simply did not align with my future me. I had to ask myself, what is my future me? For me personally, it's someone that's successful. Although I'm a leftist, a socialist, I strive to have money. I strive to be successful in the current state of affairs for reasons that are particular to me, and I won't get into in this video because that's apart from the subject matter. But there comes a point in time when you realize that all you have to do is simply let go, because the effort in which you're pouring into these fleeting relationships, these fleeting moments of your life, ultimately hinder you. Not so much hinder you, but move you backwards. To me, that is incredibly, it makes me ache. The fact that I could be moving backwards, which is a natural part of life. And that's something that, like, with the whole idea of these fleeting relationships that I've been mentioning, that you simply have to come to terms with. And it might be painful for some of you as well, that you might be moving backwards from your future self. You might have this idea of what you think your future self is meant to be. And the thought of moving backwards, it just cripples you. And it does for me too. But it's not to say that you shouldn't care, because there is beauty in caring. But it's more so to say that there's beauty in detachment, and recognizing when to detach yourself from these negative aspects of your life. Like, let's say you're talking to a girl, whatever. At the end of the day, boundaries are boundaries. Like, let's say you're pouring more effort into fostering what you want to be something more than, I don't know, like, say, a talking stage, right? At the end of the day, you have to recognize that there's a pattern being shown here. Sorry, there's a bird that just flew by. That there's a pattern being shown here. And you have to understand that only by detaching yourself from what is literally a poison, because I mean these aspects of ourselves, whether it be the analogy of the Christian or the relationship, with, like, say, a girl, a significant other, or who you want to be a significant other, or from a group of friends that are hindering you, if they bring the negativity into your life of overthinking, of bringing you backwards from what you want to be, of questioning the ideals that you know you want to have, at the end of the day, it is a poison. And the simple fact of the matter is that you have to detach yourself. And at the end of the day, calm your mind. And that's something that I think I've realized today. Over the course of this trip, obviously, I mean, it's something that I've had a lot of time to meditate on. And that's not to say that I was, sitting crisscross applesauce and, just, portraying myself as a Buddha of sorts. But there's so much power in thought. And that's something that I think by, having these one-on-ones and, actually using the critical thinking that my education has allotted me, that I'm able to truly realize. And there's beauty to that. And there's beauty in calming your mind. Now, this has been a pretty long video as it is. I'm probably going to have to edit this because, these yapping sessions, they are kind of just like, free-flowing. And I'm probably going to have to edit this to, make it more concise. Definitely not synonymous with my style, because I typically just like raw dog it, because I usually just record my sets. And, these kind of more in-depth videos about like personal issues are something that I don't really do a lot. But I think it's something that I want to do more often, because it is really refreshing to kind of just like share what I've learned. But anyways, I have stuff to do. I got friends to meet up, and I'm gonna live out the rest of my day. And that's the same thing that I can say to you. And hopefully, if you've watched this video, this is giving you material to think about. Anyways, pump's coming up soon. And thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.